we are going to talk about Piccolo's temperament testing and go over her scorecard. So first thing I want you to understand is that it's a spectrum. It's not like low is bad and high is good. That's not how it works. So it's just a matter of where they kind of fall. So you'll understand as we go along. So the first thing that you're going to notice is I place her into the testing area. It's kind of a new area. It's new obstacles that she hasn't seen before. And I want to see how she takes to a new situation. Is she stressed out? Is she shaking? Is her tail high? Is her tail low? And what you'll see with Piccolo is her tail is nice and high. And she immediately leaves me. And she kind of momentarily checked back. But then she was very quick to kind of go explore all of the new, the tunnel and different things that she hasn't seen before. So that's great. And then the next thing you're going to notice is assertiveness. So I crawl into the temperament testing area and I sit down and I watch how she approaches me. So low would be like they kind of army crawl or they need coaxing to come over. So I did score her a low because she does this like adorable polite army crawl and then crawls into my lap very politely. So she could have been a medium, but that like low army crawl, so I scored her a low for assertiveness. And she kind of did that a few times. I noticed she goes over to the stuffed dog and she kind of approaches the dog very lowly assertive. And I noticed that as well with the kids. So I would say that's pretty accurate. A high assertive dog has no reservations for your personal space, no regard, and they just want to get as close to your face as possible, where she's very polite in that way. You can hear them in the background wrestling and playing. Motivation level. So I scored her a high because she really was up for trying anything. You'll see on the little bridge thing, I try to coax her over it and then I try to coax her back the other way and she was very happy to try, and then I flipped it over and it was wobbly and she really did want to work for me. She followed the toys. And then nerve strength and resiliency. This is their ability to handle stress. And again, I gave her a high because I really didn't feel like anything was stressing her out by any means. Even when we get to the sound and sight part, she noticed, but nothing caused her stress. So I think she's going to adapt to new surroundings very well. Touch tolerance. Okay, so this is not how much they enjoy it, but how tolerant they are of it. So think the groomers, the vet, they don't need to love that handling, but we do need them to be tolerant of it. And this is one of those adjustable traits that we can build into it, and everybody should be building into it. Although I did score her a high. The only thing that she didn't necessarily kind of like melt into was being initially tipped into on her back, but then she was kind of fine. She was kind of tucked in there like a little squirrel. She was happy. But what you'll notice is I kind of go through that whole 10-step handling and the massaging and touching her whole body, and she really was not fazed by any of it. Energy level. Okay, so this is something that doesn't change, something that we really focus on in our matches, and that low energy dog doesn't often want to keep up to family adventures, and a high energy dog needs a lot more stimulation. So I scored her a medium. What you notice is she's kind of playful, and then she slows down a little bit, and then she perks up again and scampers around, whereas a low energy dog does a lot of sitting, and they kind of lay down, or they walk the whole time. And a high energy dog is like bigger than life, and they don't stop running their entire assessment. Okay, so sound and sight sensitivity. So, meaning a low is like that they didn't notice it or that they weren't stressed out by it. So sound sensitivity, you see I take like the Fisher-Price popper and I shake it really loud. And at one point she kind of like looked at it and did this like a silly like jump from it, but it wasn't a scared jump by any means. So I would say she didn't even really notice it. So she was not stressed by the sounds whatsoever. So I gave her a low. Again, this is something we can build into. We keep building by exposing our dogs to sounds and YouTube and different playlists and just life being in the house with the blender and the coffee maker. Same. Sight sensitivity. So I pop the tunnel up and I see how startled she is by sudden movements. And again, she kind of did this like silly little like skip over, but she was not stressed by it at all. And then she came and checked it out. So that's great. I did score her a medium just because she seemed to be slightly more noticed than the sound. But yeah, both of those I think were great. Prey drive. So how badly do they want to chase things that move? So a medium prey drive is kind of fun. They still like toys. They can still kind of be redirected, but it's not so intense. What you'll notice is every time I throw the ball, she does chase it, but she like walks towards it. It's not like an intense hunting chase. So I think that will be slightly more manageable with a house of kids as well, or other animals. I think she'll be lovely there. Human focus or pack drive. I give her a medium because she often checked in and she was very happy to be with me, but she actually had a nice little independence about her. She was happy to play with the toys on her own, which can be helpful for dogs that, you know, are maybe home a little bit more for activities or job or whatnot. That can be really nice, but then they're definitely going to be happy to see you when you come home. Tender-hearted. Okay, so you're going to see that I like roll on the floor and pretend that I'm crying and having a tantrum, and I'm going to see if she cares. And she sure did. She's like crawls under my neck and just like stays with me. So these are the dogs when people say that they were sick on the couch for a week and their dog never left their side. It's a tender-hearted dog that fills that role. That being said, a household that already has a lot of emotions or maybe a lot of anxiety or depression, we tend to gravitate towards these highly tender-hearted puppies thinking that's what we need, but often those dogs tend to take on all of your emotions and your anxiety. And so it can help if a dog is not quite so tenderhearted for homes that have a lot of big emotions or really young kids that are really emotional, things like that. So yeah, a highly tenderhearted puppy is super sweet and super lovely, and they do appreciate a good leader that isn't going to crumble into a puddle on a regular basis. Dog friendliness. She was very happy to see the dog. I gave her a submissive because she did that little Arby crawl over there and whatnot. You'll often find that they kind of approach, if they're a submissive personality, they approach and then they almost like roll over, or approach very low as opposed to like dodging right for the face or the bum. That's how an assertive dog approaches dog friendliness. But overall, I think she's going to be such a lovely little gal. I think she's going to fit into a lot of different situations. And definitely handle probably stress really well. So if you have any questions about Piccolo, let me know.